Yizker Chomu Chesecha, V'Oiloscha Yidashna Selo. Yitel Nechocha Vavecha, V'Chalatzocha Yimale. Rana V'Shuasecha, V'Shem Eloheinu Nidvim. Yimale Adonai Kol Mashalisecha. Ata Yodaiti. Yeshia Adonai Meshicha. Yanehu Mishlei Kodshem. Yeshe Yemina. Eile B'Rechev, Eile B'Susa. אנחנו בשם אדוני אלוהינו נזכיר. הימה קורא ונפולו, ואנחנו קמנו ונסדר, אדוני ישיע, המלך יעננו וימכרנו. Thank you, Flora.
We're gonna do the whole mimer over there.
Almost the whole night. Why are you asking?
Like it's gonna get good.
Yeah, in the end it gets very, very... What? Yes. That's the one, yes. And all these Bossalaganis are supposed to go in the library room. Okay, so we're on page 204. We're on page 204. Okay, we'll start with page 204. Omnam. However, being that we brought the Medrash, the Rebbe explained in the Medrash that that even though one would think that they can get much more benefit by fostering a relationship with the officers, with the ministers, because they're more closely involved with his needs, and they're much more accessible, and they're the ones who are in charge of this department or that department, so we'll get much more from the officers than a relationship with the king himself. So the smart person chooses the king. The same as here, that he didn't choose Hashem over the sun, the moon, and the constellations. So the Rebbe says, this case, we started this yesterday, the mashal and the nimshal aren't so accurate. Because in the mashal, the dukes and these officers and these ministers could actually make a difference. Which means if I have a good relationship with somebody who is in Congress, somebody who's in the Senate, someone who has a position there, I can get certain benefits. Even more than if I have a relationship with the president, because the president of the country or the king of the country doesn't get involved with these little things. And these are the people who are in charge of the little things. But in the mashal, the sun, the moon, the stars, they don't have any free choice. So I don't gain anything by having a relationship with them. What's the mushal? So let's see this inside. However, maybe mushal al-zemi melech v'duchsin, the fact that the medrash brings an analogy of a king and his officers, but in the mushal, which is the sun, the moon, and the constellations, in the mashal haduchsin and bali b'chira that actually do have free choice, and they could make a difference whether this person will get what he wants or not get what he wants, or how much he'll get of what he wants. But in the nimshal with Hashem and the sun and the moon, they have no choice altogether. Shalochen mistaver leima. So in the mashal, it makes sense to say that the reason why people choose these officers ba'aduchsin, they actually will get more influence by choosing them. It's like the Gashmis now, what you see happening is there's elections, right? So everyone, I mean, not talking about individual people, but people who have a certain position or they have a certain, or they have big companies or they're very big in business, they support this and this official who is running for elections. And what are they hoping? That if this person wins, then later I'll have it in with him and he'll do me favors that I need. That's the way people think. So it's true, if I choose this person or I choose the other person, I will get benefits. But this is not the same in the Nimshal. By serving and worshiping the stars, by worshiping the mazolas, the constellations, that doesn't make any difference because they don't have any free choice. As we explained before, that they're just like an axe in the hands of a chopper. They're just tools. From this it's understood, this smart person that says, I would choose the king, it's a place so let's look into a different angle of the mashal. Different angle of the mashal is, why does the person say, I choose the king? Actually, it is true that if you have a relationship and a good relationship with the officers and the ministers, you will gain much more benefit. So the reason why, why they choose the officers and the ministers makes sense. But why does this person choose the king? So the answer is, to him, it's more important that he chooses the king, which is the right thing to choose, and he's the greatest authority. He's the one of the most quality of all the officers, and that's more important to me than the benefits. In other words, this is emes, that the king is a person of greater quality. So I'd rather be connected to him, but I'll get more benefits from the officers. So those people care more about the benefits. And this person cares more about the emes, that I want to be connected to that person who was the greatest quality amongst all these people. So how does this relate to the nimshal? So this must be the same with the nimshal. That the main reason why the other nations choose to worship the sun, the moon, the constellations, Yisrael and Yidden only worship Hashem, is it's not just because they make a mistake and they think that the stars and the constellations are Bali B'chira, have free choice. And the Yidden, they know the emes, like it's just an axe in the hand of the chopper. That's how we explained it before. That superficially, it looks like everything is coming from these intermediate things, from the sun, from the moon, from the constellations themselves. So it takes wisdom and takes insight and takes a good perception to recognize, no, it's Hashem giving it through all these things. But here he's saying, no, that's not the difference. The difference is something else. That they also know that they don't really have any free choice. By the nations of the world, their main concern is to get more sustenance. And by Yidden, the main concern is to serve the one that's really supposed to be served, which is the king himself. Let's see how he explains it. Because we just finished saying that the sun and the moon don't have any free choice. Page 206. When you know the main reason why they do worship the stars and the constellations, Avodah Zarah. But in other words, what he's going to explain is that it's not just the sun, the moon. By worshiping Avodah Zarah, they're going to get chayas from Klippa, not directly from Kedusha. In other words, Hashem set up the world in such a way that his energy and his light and his influence comes to this world through two channels. One channel is directly from Kedusha, and the other channel is that it is given to us through Klippa. So it means when a person does an Aveira, the fact that he continues to live is because Hashem gives him life. But when you do an Aveira, now you're getting your life force, you're getting your sustenance from Klippa, which means Hashem is giving it to Klippa, and through Klippa you're getting this chayas. And he's going to explain that when a person gets chayas from Klippa, they will find that they're getting more chayas than they did get it from Kedusha. So now let's explain why. How? Yeah. But I think I jumped ahead because it gives two reasons. The first reason is not that. The first reason is another reason. The first reason is that in order to receive chayes from Kedusha, one has to have bittul. So we just had a mimer, Baruch Hashem, we just learned a mimer, that the vessel for Kedusha is bittul. And therefore, if you want to be Mekabel from Kedusha, you have to have bittul. If you want to be Mekabel and receive from Klippa, you don't need bittul. So therefore, it's more comfortable, more convenient to receive chayes in a way that I don't have to have bittul. And that is when you get chayes from Klippa. Let's see the words inside. That they work with Kedusha is bittul. In order to receive chayes from Kedusha, a person has to have bittul, because Kedusha can only rest in a place that has bittul. In a place which is yeshus and there's no bittul, there's no space for Kedusha, for godliness. And because they didn't want to go through bittul, bittul means giving up my mitzias, the way I feel, the way I think, and what I want. Therefore, that's why they chose to worship the idols, because by doing that, they're getting chayes from Klippa. In order to receive influence from Klippa, you don't need bittul. Like it says in the Zohar, Ruach Misava, which means the spirit of impurity, where is it found? Is dam in Tadir, it's always found in a place where Magana Ubrei Kanya, in a place which doesn't cost, and a place which is empty. Kamesha Kosev, something we just had in the Chumash, when Yidden were going out of Mitzrayim, we started to complain, oh, what are we doing here? Our life is in danger. We were in Mitzrayim and we were able to have the food we ate it for free. Those are the words. Asher neicha b'Mitzrayim chinam, the food that we ate without being charged. And the Gemara says, chinam means without mitzvahs. We didn't have the responsibility, we didn't have to make the effort to observe the mitzvahs. But the Zohar says what it means on a deeper level is hashpa mal'umazeh, to get chayes from Mitzrayim, which is klippa, hichinam. That doesn't cost, because that's something which I don't have to give up anything of myself to get. So in other words, if you want to receive from Kedusha, I have to give away my ego, my yeshus, to receive from Kedusha. That's bittul. And if I want to receive from klippa, I don't have to. So the reason why they would prefer to get chayes from Mitzrayim is because it's chinam. It's for free. When we say for free, we mean figuratively for free. I don't have to give, just like begashmis, when you buy something, it means I have to give away my money. Here it means I have to give away of myself by giving away my will and doing Hashem's will. And I have to refine myself and I have to make room for, and space for godliness. And the bittul, that's what they didn't want. There's a story with the Arizal that he went somewhere to buy an esrog. And actually, he bought a very beautiful esrog. Then when he asked the person, how much does it cost? The person said, no way, I don't want to charge you money. To me, it's the biggest chus that you're getting an esrog from me. So the Arizal said, it says in the Zohar, Mitzrayim chinam. If you want to get something from Mitzrayim, from Klippa, that's for free. Kedusha has to cost something. So therefore, in Kedusha, there has to be something that I'm giving up of myself. And actually, he said to him, I must pay you because this is Kedusha, I have to give something of myself. So far, you're following? Okay, let's continue. Now comes the second reason, which I started to say before, but another reason why those nations wanted to worship idols, why they wanted to get their sustenance from the stars and the constellations. Page 208. The hashpa, the sustenance that comes from the kechavim amazolis, is actually greater. Greater meaning in quantity. Why? Being that the klipa gets their chayes from makiv, shalamayla mishtal shalus, that's above mishtal shalus, hashpa misham mushalay api acheshbon. Here's what starts getting a little complicated. We have to be able to concentrate. Let's say the words. Hashpa misham, the sustenance that comes from klipa and comes from makiv is loy api acheshbon, is not calculated, and therefore it's not in accordance to what I do deserve or don't deserve. And therefore, harei hashpa b'ri b'godol. The hashpa comes in abundance. So this is something which we see with our eyes. We look out into the world and we see that there are people who are not, following a life which is Kedusha, but a life of Klippa, like a lot of the nations of the world, and they are very powerful. And whether we're talking about Rome, or you're talking about Babylon, or you're talking about other evil empires, they were very strong. Times of Achashverosh, very strong, but they were Klippa. Or you find that they had money more than anyone else in the world. That means, how does it make sense that they don't deserve it? They're actually living a life of Klippa. How come they're getting it? So this is one of the biggest questions people have. One of the most painful things that really comes up when we see something like this. In fact, there's a pasuk which says, "Madua derech rishayim tzleicha." Why is it that those people that are rishayim, that are wicked, why do we see that they have hatzlacha, that they succeed? So actually, we see that in a certain way they seem to be having even more sustenance than those that are in kedusha. So the point he's going to make here is that when they get their sustenance, it's not measured, it's not calculated, therefore it's given in, and it's not something which is worked out according to your avodah. In Kedusha, whatever a person gets is measured and calculated according to their avodah. Now the question is why?
Yeah, good question.
What? Big question. So let me give you an introduction to this question. There are a lot of questions, and there are no answers to the question. And the reason is because there are two kinds of questions. One kind of question is called a kop kasha. Means a question that's produced by the brain. It's purely intellectual question. These questions, you can answer and calm them down with a cup answer, with a brain answer, intellectual answer. There are certain questions that they're called a heart's kasha, which means the question is coming from the heart, not from the brain. Something hurts, And I'm asking, why am I hurting? Why is this happening? And you can't give an intellectual answer because that still is not going to calm me down because it still hurts. So therefore, we have to put that part to the side and just focus on this to try to understand as much as we can intellectually what could be the explanation that Klippa should get in abundance and Kedusha gets things much more measured and much more calculated.
Yeah. When we talk about this in like the very beginning, I learned it a while ago, but it says how like Hashem puts power into the things that like other people like put power into. Like he makes it work for them in that way. And I feel like it's a similar concept.
Yeah, I mean, on the surface, it seems to be the answer is because of Bechira. Hashem wants us to have free choice. So he sets it up in such a way that you think, I mean, really, it's not that way. Let's say there's not a Chassidish answer, there's a simple answer. I think we once spoke about this. There's a simple answer, especially if you look in Tanya, and it brings down the word Zelu Umazeh, that whatever Hashem created in Kedusha, created in Klippa. He created wisdom and intelligence in Kedusha. Klippa also has wisdom and intelligence. There are people in the world of Klippa that are brilliant people, geniuses. Hashem created beautiful music in Kedusha. There's beautiful music in the world of Klippa. There's talent in Kedusha, there's talent in Klippa. So at the end of the day, if it's true that everything that's here is also there, so what's the advantage of this over that?
Emet.
What?
This is Emet. This is wrong.
So what's the advantage? It's emet. So I'll explain your answer. There's a mashal. A mashal, it's a cute little story, but it has a lot of depth to it. A mashal of a king that he once called 4 of his talented people, and he said, I want to build another room to the palace, but I want this to be something really interesting. So I called 4 of you. Each one should build 1 wall, but you don't have to build it in a way that it's consistent with the other people, which means you build the wall the way you feel like building it, put in your art, put in your design, whatever you want. He'll do his and he'll do his. And whoever does the best job will get the most money. I'll pay you all, but according to the work that you put in and what you create. So I'm giving you 3 months, build these 4 walls, but you don't have to depend on the other. You don't have to speak to the other. I don't want that. I want you each one to do your own thing. Okay, interesting challenge. So each one sits down and starts making plans, what they're going to do to make the most creative, beautiful, magnificent wall that the king will be happy, and they get to work. But there's one of the 4 people sitting there, not doing a thing, just watching them work. And they say, are you normal? You're playing with fire. You know, the king gave a deadline. Has to be ready in 4 weeks. I know. Okay, I mean, in 3 months. I know. Anyway, they keep building and they're working and they work hard and they're working many hours and they're this and they're that. He did not budge from his place, didn't do a thing. They can't understand what's going on in his mind. Finally, they're at a point where they're finished building their walls already. Now they're just polishing the walls, doing the touch-ups, the final little, they call it the tail end of things, tie the loose ends. And then, like a few weeks before the deadline, he gets up. Apparently, he's going to build his wall. He disappears. Comes back, and he brings with him a huge, huge mirror. Just a mirror, that's all. And he sets up the mirror as the 4th wall. And this mirror reflects all 3 walls. And actually, it looks magnificent because all the beauty and all the art and all the design and all the 3 walls are now being reflected in this 4th wall. On one hand, they were very angry, like basically you're taking advantage of all the work that we did, and you're not doing anything. All you did is a mirror. On the other hand, whatever he did was legal. You know, he didn't violate any of the rules. Finally, the day of judgment comes. The king is coming, and he walks into the room, walks over to one wall, and he praises it. Wow, this is amazing. The art, the creativity, I can't believe it. Takes out gold coins, puts it into a bag, and hangs it up on the wall. Then he goes to the next wall, and again, praises it and praises it and praises it, counts up a certain amount of gold coins and hangs up on the wall. Then he does the same thing with the third wall. When he walks over to the fourth wall, to the mirror, he doesn't stop praising it. It is brilliant. How do you think of this? It reflects all the three walls, and it's so beautiful, and it's so much, and it makes all the other walls look much better. On and on and on and on and on. Then he starts walking away. And the builder says, Your Majesty, could I ask something? Yeah. Your Majesty, you praised my work, but you didn't leave me any money, any gold coins. So what are you talking about? On your wall, there are 3 bags of gold coins. They all have 1, you have 3. That's what Liron was saying. That's the beard, the pshat in your answer. This is emes, and this is not emes. In other words, this is a reflection of something, and everything else is emes. What does emes mean? Emes means that it's godly. If it's not godly, it's not emes. If it's not godly, it has no substance. It's only there because of Hashem, and it's not something which will last, and so on and so forth. So basically, Klippa, on one hand, it's a little bit of a mashal in this question also. They have 3 bags. They have more than everybody else, but it's only reflection. And in Kedusha, it's less, but it's something real. It's real godliness. So when we talk, for example, about Rome and Greeks and all the other big empires, and we say, well, they're all gone. I'm sure you know the famous article written by a non-Jew, by Mark Twain, one of the biggest writers in America. And he writes about all these empires that they were so powerful and so they had so much, and yet they're all gone. And the Jewish people, who were almost insignificant, and they were with their hands tied behind their back. They were persecuted by everybody, and they're still around, and they're still what they always were, and they made the most contributions to the world. And he ends off with a question: what is the secret of their immortality? How do they exist? And how come everybody else fell apart and they're still around? And the answer is because this is emes, this is godly, and godliness is eternal. Everything else is big, it makes a lot of noise, it's beautiful, it's tremendous amount of quantity, but it's all without emes. It doesn't have godliness in it. It's klipa. And klipa ultimately falls apart. So this is a simple explanation, but it still doesn't explain fully. So why is it so much more than Kedusha? And here's where we need the explanation according to Chassidus. Actually, there's a mimer from the Rebbe Rashab, which is, I think, perhaps the first mimer ever to be translated in English. It's a very long mimer, has a lot of chapters to it, and it's quite fundamental in yeshiva for the Bachrim, for boys. At a very young age, this is the first thing they learn, one of the first maimarim that they learn. It's called Kuntras Umayim. And over there, it explains this whole thing in much more length and many, many pages of explanation. The key word is what he says here on page 208, that Klippa gets its chayis from Makif, and Kedusha gets its chayis from Pnimius. But this needs to be explained what that means. So let's go step by step. On a very simple level, Makif means something which is external. Makif literally means encompassing, from the outside. Pnimis means something which is internal. So let's translate this into different words, and we'll use these words: an internal desire or an external desire. What is the difference between an internal desire and an external desire? So Chassidus explains that an internal desire means something that I really want. An external desire is something that I want, but I don't really want. What does that mean? So, for example, a person has a job, and he works at his job for many hours, from 7 in the morning till 7 at night, and the job is a very physically heavy job. It's carrying bricks and heavy loads from 7 in the morning till 7 at night. And he gets paid a salary, supports his family. Does he want this job or not? Would he be upset if somebody would take the job away from him? Of course, that's his job, that's his livelihood. What if the boss would say, would you mind if I pay you your salary, but you don't have to do the work? Most people that I know would say, okay, I'll do that. Yeah, I'm fine with that. Why? Because I don't really want the hard work. I want the money. So the will and the desire for the money is the pnimis haratz, and that's what I really want. The work, I also want to work, and that's why I'd be upset if somebody would take it away from me. But the work is as a means to an end. In order to get money, I have to do this work. But if I could get to my goal without this, I wouldn't need it. I wouldn't want it. That's called chitzonius haratzon, something which I want, but the desire for it is not coming from deep inside, it's external. And you can think of many examples of these things, because there's so many things in life that we want, and we're pursuing it, but we're only doing it as a means to an end. I don't really want it. If chas v'shalom, a person is told that they have to go through an operation, they want the doctor to do it. They pay the doctor money. They beg the doctor to do it at an earlier date so that he should be healthy and well. But they don't really want that. They want to be healthy. The only way to be healthy is by going through this process. But they don't want the process itself. So the desire and the will for the process is called chitzonius haratzon, an external will. The desire to be healthy, that's the pnimis haratzon. That's what I really want. How many levels are there in this? The answer is infinite. Because I could want one thing as a means to an end, and the other thing is also a means to a deeper end, another end. Like, let's use this example. I want to work to make money. For some people, that's it. I want to work to make money. But if you ask a decent person, why do you want to make money? He'll say, because I want to live comfortable. I don't need the money itself. If I could live comfortable without the money, just have whatever I need, I'll be very happy. I don't need the money. So the money is also chitzonius haratzon, and the desire to live comfortable and happy is the pnimis haratzon. And why do you want to live comfortable? For some people, that's where it ends. For a yid, I want to live comfortable and happy so I could serve Hashem properly. So that's the pnimis haratzon. Oh, wait a second. And why do you want to serve Hashem? I want to serve Hashem because then He's going to give me good health and all the good things. That's some people. For some people, that's not the main reason. They want to have reward in Olam Haba, in the world to come. That's the real reason. And for some people, that's also not the real reason. The real reason is because they want to be connected to Hashem. And through mitzvahs and Torah, they're connected to Hashem. So basically, there are many levels of depth. I want this because of this, and I want this because of that, and that because of another thing. Each one is called the pnimius compared to the chitzonius. So the same with Hashem. Hashem created a world. In this world that He created, there's, first of all, billions and millions and trillions and infinite kinds of creations, humans and animals and plants and things that are inanimate. And in each one, there are hundreds and thousands and tens of thousands of different kind of species and different things. That's on this world. And there are angels, and there are 4 worlds, and each world there are tens of thousands of other worlds. All this was created, but there's a purpose why Hashem created it. So generally speaking, there's a lot of details, but the general difference is Kedusha is what Hashem really wants. He created Klippa as a means to an end, but He doesn't really want Klippa. That's not what Hashem wants. So the fact that there's evil in the world, it couldn't exist if Hashem wouldn't want it to exist. But evil is there for a reason, which is free choice or other reasons, but it's not, that's called chitzonius haratzon. Yeah.
So what's the reason? Is the reason for us to not interact with it?
On the surface, yeah, the reason is for us to have a higher level of Aveda. If there's no choice, then my Aveda, there's no Aveda involved, there's no choice. If there is a choice and I make the right choice, then my Aveda is on a higher level. And deeper than that, we learned in Basti Lagani that when a person does a skapia, it gives Hashem great pleasure. So there's a certain pleasure of the fact that there's klipa, and I reject klipa, and that gives Hashem pleasure. So therefore, Hashem created klipa, not that I should pursue it, and I should want it, and I should use it. On the contrary, I should reject it. So His real ratzon is the kedusha that comes out of the klipa, the light that comes out of the darkness, not the darkness itself. So the will for the darkness is chitzonis haratzon, and the will for kedusha, the light, is pnimis haratzon. Just 1 second. I just want to bring out that generally speaking, if you think of people, most people, what are they involved with most of the day? With that, what they really want, or all the things which are sort of a means to an end, if you think of it. Let's start with the night. 8 hours a night you sleep, for example. I have no choice. I have to sleep to have strength. So when people sleep and eat and everything else, it's also, we should be happy, we be together with the family. It's me and my family and the people we love and the people that we want to spend our life with. That's sort of the main reason. I'm talking about now, not involving Yiddishkeit, just in general. That's the main reason of my life. That's the joy of my life. Everything else is a means to an end. So in quantity, most of the day is actually for other things, which are the means to an end. That which is the ikar, that which is the primary thing, happens to be the smallest in quantity, if you think of it. Yeah, who's just gonna ask me a question? Yes.
No, my question is like, if I take like the stigma of like Kochavim Gadol, but we take it to Yiddishkeit, even people that work, for example, to get Gan Eden, so in a certain way, it's also like not true, not the same way, but it.
Yeah, it's levels. It's different levels. There's different levels in emes. Yeah.
So, but they work the same thing and they make the same Torah, but because of their like intention.
But it's still kedusha. It's all in kedusha, but it's still levels in kedusha itself. Yeah. Even a Beinoni tzaddik is not the ultimate emes. That's what Rebbe says in Tanya. Yeah.
When you were just saying that, like within someone's day, like most of it is like a means to an end, and only a small part is the ikar. That's like the example of how like when highest comes from klipa, there's so much, but when it comes,
right,
it's like more concentrated, so there's less like quantity.
Exactly right. In other words, let's say we say a person works because they want to earn money to provide for the family. So basically, most of the week, I'm working from 9 o'clock in the morning till 5 o'clock in the day, going to a job, doing my work. Hours, I spend all these hours, and it's all to get the money at the end of the week. So the money at the end of the week is that little thing that I get, the check. But the hours that I spend on everything else to get there is so much more. Again, there's still a lot left to be understood. There's no question. This is very difficult, complicated. But as we go along, there'll be more depth to it. But the general idea is that Klippa gets its highest from Hashem's external will. That's called makif. And what comes from the external will is not so measured and calculated and sort of worked out that it's exactly the way things are supposed to be, because like I said before, you can do things that are even painful because of, like, a person could go through surgery, which, doing something which hurts and painful, and I really don't want it, but I want it for something else. So therefore, there are things in the world, I'll get to it in a second, that are undesirable, that are evil, that are really negative, and yet Hashem wants it to be there because of the goal to reach Kedusha. Like we said before, there should be greater light coming out of darkness. But because of that, things that are Kedusha are very precise, and they're pnimis, so they're measured. Things that are makif, and they come from this external place, they're not so measured. Yeah.
But if your intention becomes to be buttle, so that way you end up receiving the calculated reward, isn't that a means to an end?
It's a little bit of a strange kind of bittul.
Yeah.
Because I'm really being bittul to have more for myself.
Exactly.
So it's not really bittul. But on the other hand, practically speaking, I follow what Hashem says. Yeah. So it is a certain degree of bittul. It is. At the end of the day, it's still a certain degree of bittul. I'm following Hashem's will, not my will. Yes, like I said, there are many different, deeper levels of bittul, but that is also bittul.
Thank you, Rabbi.
Yeah. Again, if you want to take another mashal just to make it a little bit more understood in these words, if I have a cup, how much liquid could I put in this cup? It has to be measured, right? What if I want to put water not in the cup, but around the cup? How much could I put in?
Ocean.
In the Atlantic Ocean. If it's previous, if it goes in, it has to be measured according to the vessel. If it's around, outside, external, then it doesn't have to be measured according to the vessel.
What is the biggest level of Bitul Nazir?
Nazir?
That's the biggest or Tzaddik? Because Nazir is not involved in the world at all. And Tzaddik is involved, but it's still a Tzaddik. So what is it?
Like everything else, there's an advantage in one over the other. But the Nazir is not a normal, regular way of living. It's only a temporary thing for 30 days, for a certain amount of time. It's not the regular.
Well, the Nazir have to be a Tzaddik.
No. Every person could be a Nazir. Any person. If he makes a vow, he becomes a Nazir. Okay, you'll chew it over and think about it, dream about it. At night, you'll see Atlantic Ocean and cups and water. And then next time we have the class, we'll be able to do it again and hopefully you understand it better. You need about 10 mishalim to get an idea of what we're talking about. But we that we'll try our best to explain it. Okay, to be continued.
How did Black Shoes every day? Every day. Yeah, so when we yeah, they're both shoes like that. And I don't use so much. They have an outfit. See? So they're great.